Hello, I'm Melvin Steeris, the author of Voluntary, Peasants, Inside the Ultimate American Commune, The Farm. The book is available at my website, voluntarypeasants.com, and I'm going to read an excerpt from the book for you right now. This is Chapter 14, Peyote Meeting. First, a quote, an epigraph from James Joyce's Ulysses. The movements which work revolutions in the world are born out of the dreams and visions in a peasant's heart on the hillside. For them, the earth is not an exploitable ground, but the living mother. We were here to manifest a spiritual utopia, a beautiful, enlightened micro-world of peace, love, and harmony, and to create a model, sustainable lifestyle the world can afford. Noble aspirations, but we had great need to organize ourselves. At this critical juncture, Stephen called a meeting. All that had preceded, Monday night class, Sutro Park, the caravan, college talks, and high masses, all set the stage for this moment, and this moment could set the stage maybe for the rest of our lives. This was the time for Stephen, that's Stephen Gaskin we're talking about, to define our goals and ethos and lay down the ground rules, a fundamental blueprint of our newborn community. By this point, with few exceptions, we all totally trusted Stephen and were more than willing to allow our beloved master to shape our lives as he saw fit, as a sculptor shapes clay. And the universe seemed to be facilitating matters. Stephen had just been given a sack of peyote and decided to unleash the Native American sacrament and powerful hallucinogen at the meeting as a consciousness-raising treat, and to open everyone's hearts and minds. This would not be a traditional Hopi meeting involving drums, feathers, kachina songs, and such, but a hippie freestyle peyote meeting with Stephen serving as road chief. As darkness fell, we all gathered on a wooded hillside. All 300 caravanners sat silently in a wide circle around a crackling fire, creating a ring of beautiful faces softly illumined by dancing flames. Everything, the night, the fire, the people, the energy, the whole experience felt profoundly significant. We sat on blankets and bedrolls, meditating, digging the scene, and falling under the hypnotizing spell of fire, night, and forest as we enjoyed nocturnal music of the land, pulsing rhythms of bullfrogs, ribbit, 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 tree frogs, peep, 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 katydids, crickets, regular crickets, chirp, 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 and super loud camel crickets, chirp, chirp, chirp. A nearby quail aired aloud, Bob White. Whippoorwills seemed to sing their own name to each other, whippoorwill, whippoorwill, whippoorwill. A distant barn owl hooted, hoo-hoo, and a strange jungle-sounding bird like a kookaburra made a loud, weird warble, followed by what sounded like wacky laughter. Downhill in the meadow, thousands of fireflies filled the air with blinking lights. Then Stephen bravely began an Om, and 300 voices joined in. Om. The droning mantra chorus harmonized with nature for several minutes, subsided, and drifted away into the night. Time seemed to stop as we savored the moment. All eyes swept the crowd, telepathically meeting eye to eye, and exchanging energy, Stephen style. People smiled back and forth to each other, hearts opened, and we fell more in love with each other, altogether creating a big, juicy bubble of love. At what seemed the perfect moment, Stephen stood up, leaned on his hickory staff, and gazed silently into the crackling fire. Standing there in dancing firelight with a colorful Native American blanket draped over one shoulder, Stephen looked noble and dignified, like some kind of Anglo-Saxon or Viking chieftain. We sat eagerly waiting to hear what Stephen would have to say as jars of warm peyote tea circulated and fat joints of top-notch California marijuana circulated. Stephen threw a stick in the fire, launching a shower of sparks that shot high up into a starry sky. With all eyes on him, the guru looked around at everyone, each person in turn, looked solemnly into the fire, faced the crowd, smiled, and said, "Howdy." "Howdy, Stephen," we responded, laughter. "What we have here is the crap game of the century called You Bet Your Ass." More laughter. Now, some of you have been with me ever since Monday night class. Some we picked up along the way on the caravan. But we are all here for the same reason, to create our own scene, a place where we can do our thing. Stephen said the caravan had been a great shared adventure that brought us all together, but now it was time to change, time to put down roots and do what we had been talking about all over the country. That is, remove ourselves from the system, get back to the land, live collectively, grow our own food, and manifest our shared vision to make a difference in the world. We came all these miles to Tennessee to build our town, a model community. We are pooling our resources and working together to manifest life just the way we all want it, the way life should be, peaceful, friendly, sane, meaningful, and good for kids. There's a whole bunch of us. Together we are strong. We can do heavy things. Eloquent, strong, motivational. But Stephen was not here just to make pretty speeches. The former semantics teacher was keenly aware of the power of language to influence people and artfully chose each word with utmost care. After a long pause, Stephen preached, "Work is the expression of love on the material plane." Here we had the quintessential hippie saying, "Time to get to work." Stephen appealed to our spiritual nature and called for everyone to dedicate our lives 100% to our bold joint venture and live by the Buddhist vows of the Bodhisattva. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Desires are inexhaustible. I vow to extinguish them all. The Dharma gates are infinite. I vow to enter them all. The Buddha way is unexcelled. I vow to attain it. Stephen added his fifth vow: to shovel shit against the tide forever if need be. More laughter. Stephen declared we were voluntary peasants because we chose to live simply, close to the earth like peasant farmers around the world. After another long pause, Stephen continued, I am a spiritual teacher, not a leader, and I think of our community as my ashram, my monastery. I am a teacher of change, and if you live here, I expect you to change. Enlightenment is a lot like being a grown-up and taking responsibility, and that is what we need. We need everyone to step up and take responsibility. Though Stephen declared he was not a leader, Stephen was clearly our leader, our ruler, and rulers need rules. So what were Stephen's rules? And how do you tell rules to a bunch of free-spirit anarchists? Our guru cleverly came up with the notion of calling rules agreements. Stephen proposed, and we all agreed, to live collectively. We agreed to be peaceful, be vegan, use no alcohol, tobacco, hard drugs, or pill dope, wear no makeup or jewelry, and to keep the truth level high. On a roll, Stephen introduced the idea of singles refraining from what he called baby-making karma. If you're bawling, he said, you're engaged. If you get pregnant, you get married. Ha ha ha. We don't want to be one of those communes that have a bunch of kids running around wondering who their father is. I hesitate to call our community a commune. The word commune has baggage that conjures up negative images. I prefer to think of us as a spiritual community, a kind of family monastery, a multistery. Laughter. Stephen declared, we are a mental nudist colony, meaning we live free of pretenses and allow each other to see our naked inner selves. Stephen taught that receptivity to constructive feedback was key to personal growth. He called this dropping your thing. Stephen cautioned that he did not want our fledgling community to be just a flash in the pan, but to last for generations. And he spoke of the great law of the Iroquois, which guides us to think of the consequences of our actions 7 generations into the future. Pop went the fire, launching golden sparks toward the starry sky. Stephen looked around at everyone and repeated his Easter morning declaration. I am a living Buddha. This night adding, we are all living Buddhas. Unbelievably, right at this very high point, when everything and everyone looked magical and felt solemn, a square-looking man stood up and announced that he was a retired New York City policeman visiting his caravan daughter, Lois. Well, Lois's pop, the ex-cop, just blew his top and proceeded to scold us for using drugs, charging that we were breaking the law and doing a terrible thing. Can you imagine? Our collective jaw dropped. Everyone was stunned, flabbergasted. Now what you want to hear, not what you want to hear in the middle of a peyote trip. One macho caravaner stood up and looked like he wanted to slug the guy. All eyes turned towards Stephen. Now hold on. You know what they say. Whoever is at your peyote meeting is who is supposed to be at your peyote meeting. Now this man is at our peyote meeting, and everyone at our meeting has a right to speak his mind. Now, doesn't that seem right?" There was murmurs of assent. Stephen then graciously told the man he was welcome and he admired his courage. Remarkably, Pop sat down, the situation defused, and good vibes restored. After a long, silent pause, the meeting resumed. Right back on track, Stephen counseled we all needed to make effort to fit in with our new Tennessee neighbors. We're like this transplant, you dig? And only time will tell if we're accepted or rejected. So don't be freaky on the neighbors. They've been here a long time, and you can imagine how we look to them." Everyone smiled and chuckled. We need to win their hearts and their trust with good vibes and good action. We're all one. Don't be self-other. Love thy neighbor as thyself sometimes means don't piss thy neighbor off. Laughter. Stephen announced the outhouse crew needed diggers and the farming crew needed people in the garden early every morning. Stephen then held his palms together in Gaucho, said, "I love you all a bunch," and wished us good night. We all hugged and, sharing flashlights, headed silently down the dark hill to our vans and buses, one and all stoned and mind-blown. Were we a cult? At that point, we did not think so. Stephen said we were something so brand new and so special, no one should put a label on it. Now, with the advantage of 40-plus years to mull it over, I must say, hell yeah, we were a cult, a spiritual hippie cult, complete with charismatic leader, group jargon, dress code, dietary and behavioral rules. Whatever Stephen said was law, and we all willingly empowered him as our never-to-be-challenged leader. That is a lot of power to hand over to one individual, creating a potentially dangerous situation. Stephen often spoke about our group mind. We cherished group mind as a far-out, cool, collective, telepathic experience. But over time, our group mind slid insidiously into blinding groupthink, a horse of another color. Go to voluntarypeasants.com, pick yourself up a copy of this 422-page book with 40 photos, and buy yourself a copy. We also have an audio book available at Amazon, and this book, Voluntary Peasants, is soon to be a TV series. Stay tuned.